Hey guys, EDDBUD here. Today a refresh of the super shoe battle that's on everybody's minds. The Adidas Adios Pro or the Nike Vaporfly Next 2. Just want to say a big thanks to all of the new subscribers and of course the existing subscribers too. I appreciate you guys tuning in, and I also appreciate all your thoughts and views down in the comments. In the very few elite races that have been able to take place over the last few months, it's certainly been a more level playing field in terms of those podium finishes between the Adios Pro and the Vaporfly Next %. But with the recent launch of the Next 2, does it swing the balance back towards Nike? Is this still the top super slipper, or has the Adidas offering become the must-have apparatus? I think everybody's very pleased to see a slight drop in terms of the Next % retail price. It will no doubt provide a boost towards Nike's sales. And some people making use of some discounts as well to bring the price down even further. I mean, you can get it for roughly the same as the Adios Pro if you play your cards right. Although some people have mentioned to me in their countries the price drop isn't as much, or there isn't one at all. I haven't been able to find anything to back that up. Everywhere I tried, it seemed as if it was roughly the same price as it is over here in the UK, which is about £209. Although at the time of making this video, the Next 2 is strangely absent from the US. I don't know whether that's due to these strange issues they have with fulfillment at the moment. Either way, the Adios Pro is still the cheaper of the two at the moment, and still very hard to find. Adidas only seem to create them in very small batches, and as soon as they are released they get snapped up immediately. Stats wise, there are a few differences between these two shoes. I own both of these in a UK 11.5. For the Adios Pro that equates to a US 12, but for the Nike it seems to equate to a US 12.5. The Next 2 comes in at 244 grams or 8.6 ounces against the Adios Pro, which is 277 grams or 9.8 ounces. People have asked me whether the actual heel stack and the forefoot stack of the midsole change. Yes, they do. As the sizes go up, you're going to get more and more stack back here in the heel or in the forefoot. The Next 2, as per the original version, is about 40mm in the heel and 32 in the forefoot, so about an 8mm drop from heel to toe. I gotta say, the Adios Pro just in hand looks a lot more, but when you actually weigh it up, they're pretty much the same in terms of the actual heel stack. For that US 9, or whatever it is they measure it by these days, you've got about 40mm in the heel and apparently 31.5mm in the forefoot. They've been very accurate there. So pretty much exactly the same drop in both shoes. Outside surface area is a little bit different between these two. The Vaporfly Next 2 having 11.5cm in the forefoot, 6cm in the arch, and 8.2cm in the heel. The Adidas Adios Pro has 11.5cm in the forefoot, 6.5cm in the arch, and 8cm in the heel. So again, almost nothing in it at all. Okay, let's get to the upper comparison first. So the Adidas Adios Pro's got a little bit more height in the toe box, and I've got to be honest, you do feel a little more locked in over the top of the foot. I mean, you've got those extra eyelets that you could utilise, I suppose. The Next 2 has a lot of improved areas in the upper. You've got this reinforcement around the toe box. You've got padding on the tongue, which is pretty much exactly the same as the Adios Pro. I wonder where they got that idea. And of course that new mesh, which is very, very breathable. Certainly going to be welcome over the summer. In hand, you've got to say that the shoe is just exceptionally light feeling. There's almost nothing there on your foot. It does make for a really containing wrap. Almost no pressure present on top of the bones there. And in fairness, both shoes really just melt away when you turn up the pace. I don't think the Next 2 upper is going to hang on to an awful lot of moisture. There's nothing really there for it to hang on to. And no areas where moisture will be soaked up. Maybe aside from those padded sections around the back of the heel. And I think the same can be said for the Adios Pro. There's only a tiny little bit here where maybe water might get sucked up, but it's a very vented mesh. Water can escape very easily from it. I'd suggest those with a slightly lower arch might want to go for the Adios Pro. As per usual, the Nike Vaporfly Next 2 does have quite a high arch. I've heard of a lot of people getting this shoe and then suddenly realising how high the arch is, and it's just not a comfortable shoe for them to wear. As such, I think both uppers are pretty exceptional. I can't really call a winner here, so it's going to be a tie. Midsole wise, Zoom X is certainly the king of speed, but I do believe Lightstrike Pro to be a more durable midsole material. From running loads of miles testing out the Invincible run, it's very clear that the Zoom X in this shoe isn't quite the same as in the Invincible run. This just feels vastly more brittle to me. The Zoom X in the Invincible run feels a little bit rubberized almost. This stuff's really responsive if you haven't ever tried it out before. It does take some getting used to. The miles really do disappear at pace without that fatiguing feeling of more firm foams. I think the danger here is with the Next Percent 2 that it just does feel a little bit too easy perhaps, and if you're running a distance race, it could lead to some runners just burning out too quick. You know, it's not good to burn out or fade away, is it, in a race? So certainly a shoe that I feel you need to put some miles into beforehand to kind of figure it out and understand it. Rigidity here and a quick cadence rewarded, though it's forgiving for those perhaps who just increase their stride a little bit more, perhaps when they're trying to move. Perhaps that's key to some of the time improvements that we've seen recently. I think the Adios Pro actually demands a slightly longer break-in and mastering period, but after that the shoe just gets better and better over time. The more you wear it, the closer to it you become. And I feel this shoe can perhaps really get the best out of you if you persist with it. I think perhaps the Adios Pro midsole's perhaps a little bit more forgiving for various different foot strikes. It is a little firmer than the Next Percent. This Next Percent 2 will demand a more neutral foot strike from you. I think if you land a little either side of neutral, it could cause some problems for you. The energy rods and the rear carbon plate do add a little stability to the Adios Pro that the Next Percent doesn't have. That's not to say that I find either of them particularly unstable, but that said, I've been working a lot over the last 12 months in terms of my form, strength and foot strike. Both of these shoes for me are very much for faster paced sessions or racing. But if you have to use them daily, some people say, can you? Well, yeah, you could. But I certainly think the Adios Pro's less effective at slower paces. I just think the Next Percent's perhaps just that little bit more versatile. There, I said it. Yeah, I don't mean go out and just run a 3-mile easy effort in it. It's not that versatile. People do though, and that's absolutely up to them. That's absolutely fine if you want to do that. I'm not sure what it would bring to me if I did that. I don't think it's going to bring much to the table. There's better, more comfortable shoes for running slower. I say running slower, pace is relative, isn't it, to the runner. One person's all-out, flat-out pace is somebody's tempo or steady pace. Both superb midsoles, but if I had to pick one, I think it'd have to be the Next Percent 2, but only just. Outsole wise, I still prefer the Adios Pro actually. Durable, grippy and abrasive. I think the Next Percent outsole's far from fragile. You know, use case is road and concrete, isn't it? No one's going to be running on trails with these, I wouldn't have thought. Although again, you know, if you want to do that, that's absolutely fine. But on my other pair, I recently had a stone literally penetrate straight through the rubber here and literally hit the carbon plate. So be careful. Apart from some initial wear, the Adios Pro outsole's actually looking pretty good after 60 miles. I think it would be my choice for outsole here. I just prefer it. I think it's better. Simpler. Never seems to wear either. It's really odd. I have in the past collated a video that tried to dispel the myth that Zoom X isn't very durable. Though I think the only real weakness there is where you've got very sharp debris, it just goes straight through the Zoom X foam. Just on standard runs, on road and concrete, I think you'll probably be fine. In the wet, both shoes have performed very well on my travels. It's a close call again with this one, but I'm going to go with the Adios Pro for outsole. I think value-wise, we all want low weight, don't we, on a 5K, for example. You want a pop, nimble feel. You don't want to feel like you're being weighed down on a 5K. For 10K, probably more of the same. Maybe you want a tiny bit more cushion, and thus the Adios Pro for me is probably more a half marathon or full marathon shoe. I mean, even Nike themselves advertise the Next Percent 2 as a shoe you can use for anything from 10k upwards. I think it's a real do-it-all shoe. I've seen people running 5Ks in these, anything up to the marathon. I wonder if anyone's done like an ultra marathon in one of these. Let me know. Even as recently as a couple of days ago, we saw the UK Marathon Trials winner wearing a pair of Vaporfly Next Percent. As such, I think if you're going to buy one of these shoes for your racer and your top-end trainer, then the Next Percent 2 is probably the best value. They've reduced it in price just a tiny bit, makes it a little bit more accessible, and it's actually available as well. You can actually go and buy it, which you can't do with the Adios Pro right now. Adios Pro's absent, it's missing, unavailable right now. Even if they do drop on the website in small quantities, they get snapped up in minutes. Maybe even quicker than a new release of a Yeezy foam runner or a pair of Jordan 1s or something. These just sell in seconds. We got 40 Earth credit difference between these two shoes, but I feel the Next Percent 2 is just still the best. Went in some threshold miles in the Next Percent 2 recently. It was just effortless. I just think it's worth that extra bit of cash if you can only get one of them. As such, the Next Percent 2 takes the value crown. So we had a tie in terms of the upper. The Next Percent 2 took the midsole crown. I think the Adios Pro's got a slightly better outsole, but in terms of value, I think the Next Percent 2 just takes it. So only a slight edge between these two shoes. What's your take on this super shoe showdown? Let me know down in the comments. It's time for a musical interlude. Another new, or should I say old album has been released by Neil Young. I'm a massive Neil Young fan. I don't like all of his stuff, but I know it's normally like an 85% chance that I will like it. So this is a live acoustic album. I think it must be from around the very early 70s perhaps. Clearly recorded on some quite arbitrary equipment, but it sounds great. It's just Neil with his guitar and vocals or occasional piano tracks. There's some beauties on here. Neil's voice sounds really good as well. Sounds so pure. Just very intimate kind of recording, like he's right there just playing in front of you. And he sounds really relaxed as well when he's talking between the tracks. The album's called Young Shakespeare, and you really do appreciate actually how great some of Neil Young's acoustic tunes are. Some of the lyrics are really fantastic, little stories. They paint these pictures. I always think they're a little bit like pictures, Neil Young's tracks. These oil paintings, you know, he's just sort of big, broad strokes that paint like a atmosphere, like an image in your mind. I really love Tell Me Why, which starts the album off. Just such a simple tune. Neil's sort of falsetto vocals just riding on top of the melody. Dance, Dance, Dance is a bit more of an uplifting tune from Neil Young. And it's a fantastic version of Cowgirl in the Sand on here. It's quite a brief, concise version. Beast, what are you doing? Sorry, Beast's causing some problems over there. I've got a version of Cowgirl in the Sand, I think it goes on for like 20 minutes or something, with like an electric band. Oh, it's really good. Just loads of those great Neil Young solo acoustic tracks on here. Go and check it out. It's called Young Shakespeare by Neil Young. Alright, thanks for watching through to the very end of the video today, guys. I very much appreciate it. Hope you're all keeping safe out there, and I hope you're all running. If you haven't done so already, it really helps the channel out if you hit that subscribe button and click the bell below for notifications of when we launch those new videos. And it really helps the channel out if you give this video a thumbs up like and share it with your running buddies. My name's EDDBUD, and I'll be seeing you